Hi, I'm Veli from Greenwood Solutions. Today's video will be on agrivoltaics, a mixed land proposition where renewable energy is combined with livestock and/or cropping. I love that holistic approach to resource management. The farmer has land, but not only can he produce food from that land, he can produce energy. The concept of agrivoltaics came around about in 1981 by a German fellow, and effectively what it means is this, is the combination of renewable energy, in most cases solar, but also wind farms, cropping, and the use of livestock. So most of us are aware of the large-scale solar farms that dot the Australian landscape, but some of us in the community concerned about a displacement of arable land, in other words, land that can be used for producing food, going towards these large solar farms. This is where agrivoltaics comes into place. So how it works is this. The solar panels are put into a ground mount configuration with some slight variations on your standard ground mount. In some cases, they are set up a lot higher, so more available light can come in under the panel. The row spacing can sometimes be wider to allow crops and animals to graze. And the other option is when the panels are actually placed, instead of being butted up against each other with a 15 to 25, 30 mil gap, they tend to have a wider gap. So what we're talking about is a mixed land proposition. We're talking about the panels producing an income. We're talking about the livestock and/or cropping still producing an income. And then the advantages of the microclimate created by the solar panels that may allow the farmer to grow other crops that previously he wasn't able to due to too high a temperature, too low a humidity. So how would plants benefit with agrivoltaics? Solar panels can reduce the evapotranspiration, big word, from the plants by creating these microclimates. They provide shading, which does reduce light levels, but is not necessarily a bad thing for a lot of plants, especially in these really hot, arid areas. So what about the evidence? Oregon State University did a test where they installed solar panels with the lower side about 1 metre off the ground, and what they found is that the pasture under that solar panel area increased by 90 to 130%, which is incredible. And this has got to do with the fact that the area was quite arid. So the solar panels are shading that area and actually creating this microclimate as mentioned previously. In that same Oregon study, water efficiency increased by 300%. Now what about the advantages to the actual panels? As we know, as the temperature, the ambient temperature increases and the panel temperature increases, the efficiency of the panels to deliver energy decreases. Studies have shown that the pasture and the crops around the panels in these agrivoltaic arrangements have actually lowered the ambient temperature, actually increasing the efficiency of the solar panel, which is quite incredible. With the test site that the University of Arizona conducted with the panels 3 metres off the ground, the tomato production doubled and the water efficiency there increased by 157%. What it comes down to is this: when you place any structure anywhere, it'll create an effect. Nothing is disconnected from something else. So if I place a structure, a shading structure, out on a rural setting or anywhere, it will create its own microclimate, not only under the panel, but around the panel. And those effects will be transferred to whatever else is living under the panel or growing under the panel. In addition, there's been numerous studies in regards to bird strikes. So in other words, sheep giving birth to lambs are very susceptible to eagles, especially in Australia. With the solar panels actually installed on grazing land, the panels act as a barrier or a deterrent against the eagles. A lot of the issues around the actual sites of these solar farms include the distance to the nearest towns who will be consuming the energy produced. The cheaper the land, the less arable it is. In other words, the less fertile. But the further away it is, in most cases, from sizable townships. So you've got these issues again of transmission and the efficiencies of that. A fair proportion of arable land is fairly close to cities where the produce, via the relevant supply chains, can easily access viable markets. So again, whenever I talk about renewable energy, I always talk about a prudent approach. There's always a cost-benefit analysis involved in every decision we make. So the farmer, from his perspective, has to look at the dollar value per square metre of land, what he's actually doing on that land at that particular time, the increased viability of the land if he does actually install a commercial solar ground mount system, the fact that the commercial solar ground mount system will provide an income from exporting to the grid and also satisfying the site's own internal energy usage. So it's finding that fine balance, but it really does make a lot of sense to me where you're addressing food and energy in that one area. It's just finding that right balance. So in conclusion, agrivoltaics really addresses the whole sustainability factor in regards to improved, intelligent land use. Pastures can now be viewed as total energy providers with the ability to generate electricity, grow and nurture forage crops or animals. Cost-benefit analysis is required to ascertain the correct mix of solar and crops or livestock, and there are many factors that need to be looked at to determine the best way forward. Thanks for watching this incredibly interesting presentation on agrivoltaics. By incredibly interesting, I mean the actual subject matter. Hopefully the presentation wasn't too bad either. If you've got any questions, anything you want to ask or answers, feel free to contact us and please subscribe if you see fit. Thanks very much.